Viking Romantasy? Let's check it out.
Be more than human.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is J.R. Carroll. I am the author of the More Than Human novels. And today we are here to talk about the newest Romantasy book out there. And this one is by Danielle L Jensen, A Fate Inked in Blood. And this book, I've been trying to expand, my reading out past, just the normal fantasy and sci-fi. So I've been bringing in, some more romantasy and, some other types of books. So I just recently read Ali Hazelwood's Bride, which, wasn't too bad. But I've kind of noticed this thing with a lot of romantasy that, the story takes kind of a seat to the romance. And, I guess, that's a part of the appeal, right? But for hardcore fantasy people, I'm like, well, where can we find a balance? And so I didn't come in here with the highest of expectations. And I had never read one of Danielle's books before. She's, I think, if I remember correctly, her big series is called the Bridge Kingdom, I believe. If I'm wrong, I'll put it down there. But from the covers I've seen of some of her other books, I'm like, okay, very quintessential romance, or supernatural romance or whatever. So again, the expectations weren't huge here, but I did, as we first roll into it, I'm like, this is like really, a kind of a traditional Viking Norse fantasy book as we, start off with. And it kind of, it's kind of the chosen one fate trope with our main character, Freya, who is named after the god Freya, and there's a whole thing going into that. Now, this book just came out, so I'm not really going to hit you with spoilers. I'll just kind of tell you my thoughts on it. So all of them I'm going to tell you is kind of you can find in the book synopsis. But Freya is wed to this noble guy, and he really, treats her like garbage. She doesn't like him. And eventually she finds her way into another, the guy who's even above him. She finds her way into, his sphere, and she ends up having to marry him, right? And in this world, there are people who have drops of the blood of the gods, right? From Thor to Freya to all of them. And these people have special abilities. Well, the Jarl's son that she ends up having to marry, because there is this, how do I put it? There's this legend that a shield maiden will rise up and help whoever controls her. Their kingdom will prosper and they will become the Jarl of all Jarls. And so his son, the Jarl's son, has the ability to call up fire, and he uses it through his axe. And so when they first meet up, the Jarl's like, well, she's like, well, I'm going to do my own thing and I hate you and I'm not going to go with you. And he's like, well, fight my son then. And so they start fighting, and he's just messing with her at the beginning, just kind of like slapping her sword around a little bit. And then it just gets to the point where it's like, okay, we got to take this seriously. And he goes to strike her shield with his fire ability. And she calls up her, her god that she has a drop of that nobody knew at first. Well, at least we thought nobody knew. And she was able to block his strike, and now everyone's like, oh, she is the shield maiden that we've all been waiting for. So then she has to marry the Jarl, and she's gonna go ahead and help his armies. And the way this, these different powers work is you can use them in conjunction with other people. So her power is to be able to block things, right? So his plan is to put her on the front lines, and everyone connects to her and will make their impenetrable shield wall. Um, so it's a very normal kind of, Norse Viking fantasy story. And of course, she is kind of interested in the Jarl's son. And that's kind of the romance that we go here. Of course, your normal, forbidden romance. But I will say, I have not seen Romantasy, done this well. It is definitely worth your time, and it's definitely worth a read. And one thing I will say that she does better than anybody so far is making you really feel the femininity within Freya. Because a lot of times you'll get these women who are just, this kind of the new age, like, oh, I'm the boss, I'm the best, get out of my way, I'll take this, I don't need no man. But that's not how Danielle writes Freya. She kind of reminds me of the mother from Avatar, the movie. She's very feminine. Their femininity comes across, but she's also a badass. And that is how Freya is portrayed. It's a very believable character. I was never, like, some of these times I get pulled out, I was never pulled out of the story. And that, to me, is a huge high praise for a romantasy. Because I normally get pulled out, but, Danielle was able to keep me in there the entire time. I did not mind the romance one bit. I think this could be a series that I would continue with. I really haven't read too many romantasies where I'm like, yeah, let's. I definitely am coming back for number two, but this is one I can see myself coming back to. So bravo, definitely go check it out. If you are into romantasy, this is going to be great. If you're looking to dip your toes, this might be one to start with, because if you can't like this one, you're probably not going to like any other romantasies. So tell me in the comments, is this on your radar? Have you read any of her other books? What are your thoughts on romantasy, Norse mythology, fantasy? And remember, be more than human.